What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and it's been a little while since we did a showdown comparison between some minis. We had done one of these before, comparing the WizKids Encounter in a Box minis and the Dungeons and Dragons Icons of the Realms Adventure in a Box minis. Now, those names are a little deceiving because Encounter in a Box does, in fact, have an encounter and an adventure to go with it. Whereas Adventure in a Box is just the minis and the setup with no actual written adventure. But the team over at Steamforged Games, who we've talked about a bunch in the past, we love their stuff, sent over some epic encounter minis. This is Savannah of the Gnoll and Rage of the Gnoll Warseeker to throw into the mix to throw down and see how they all stack up. So we're going to go ahead and unbox each one of these individually. I'll give you my opinion on all of these. We've got the up close cam here set up, and then we're also going to talk pricing and bang for your buck. So if you're somebody who's looking to get into DMing, more specifically, if you're looking to get into doing physical miniatures, these are some of the best options out there for you because, well, you know what? We're going to see how it all shakes out. So I'm just going to start here on the top with the Encounter in a Box Wagon Ambush. It says right here on the front, everything included, ready to play. Bloodthirsty bandits haunt the local roads, preying on all who cross their path. Risking life, limb, and inventory, a traveling merchant will brave the bandit-infested roads between him and his next day of sale, but he won't be braving it alone. Can your party of adventurers protect the merchant from the bandit threat? With Encounter in a Box Wagon Ambush, you can find out. From maps to miniatures, this box contains everything you need to run a daring tabletop encounter. And it lists out a bunch of the stuff here on the back. It does also say that it is completely compatible with Warlock gaming tiles, which is WizKid's original brand of terrain, but it'll work with any terrain, really. Let's go ahead and pull it out of the box. So we have a just standard cardboard box. We have, I don't think I'm going to need to bring these to the up close cam, but we have encounter tiles. You can see these are 1" by 1" grid for your standard characters. We have sort of a, you could kind of, it's probably designed to go like this to be a fork in the road. And then the other side, we have a bridge and a turn, but obviously you could, let's see, how can we, we're trying to manage this. You could do it like, let's see, something like this. You get the point that they're interchangeable and you could make it up however you want. So you get a map to set up however you want your encounter. You get this piece of paper, which if we open all the way up, as you can see, Encounter in a Box Wagon Ambush. And it, oh, okay, it's folded in half here, like this. So it lists out all the components, which we're going to unbox and look at in a second. A little bit of assembly instructions if you're not sure how some of these work. And then it says, you know, it gives you a little background on the adventure itself. And then a scenario overview. And then it gives you multiple ambush locations based on those tiles we saw. We have bump in the road, the turning point, which is the curve, at the crossroads where we have the T there, and a bridge too far. Let's read the bridge one, because that's probably the most interesting one in my opinion. Read aloud, it says here. An old bridge interrupts the road before you. The river below the bridge seems deep, but the current is slow moving. Once the travelers are on the bridge, the bandits drop 2 logs across the road and roll right at the right end of the bridge, blocking potential escape. Turn and Gannet are hidden in the foliage near the fallen logs, while Fowler and Nestor are hidden in the vegetation before the bridge crossing. From here, the forest bandits use similar tactics to those described above in the previous location. There's a little like combat section here. Keep in mind the bandits' positions. Additionally, Fowler and Nestor will attempt to push characters off the bridge if given the opportunity. Characters waiting in the river, trying to climb back into the fray, present themselves as desirable targets to turn and Gannet with their crossbows. Now, again, it does not specify 5e. It says bandits, so you could, in theory, use this for any fantasy campaign that you want. It talks about persons of interest here, right? Wendell the merchant. We have Fowler Montague, the bandit leader, and then a little bit of information on all of the bandits. And then gives you a couple of plot hooks to run this here, right? You can use this location as is, but other potential plot hooks may open up depending on the player's choices or how tricky the game master feels like being. Ambushing the ambushers, sudden but inevitable betrayal. Love that. And then why not both? So again, a little bit of descriptions, a little bit of backstory, so that you can go ahead and run this encounter. And again, because of how it's designed, it is technically system agnostic. You don't have to run it in Dungeons and Dragons. So let's go ahead and jump to our mini cam and see the pieces that come with it here. So, first up, we have the wagon, right? We need a wagon because this is obviously a wagon ambush. Then we have 2 pack mules here, fully loaded up. Now, do these just like, I want to see if this connects to them somehow. I don't see any like connection point necessarily. I was looking to see if like there was maybe a spot that you could attach the pack animal to. So I'm not seeing it. I think it's just kind of, you're gonna kind of have to do something like that where you kind of just angle it a little bit, let it sit there. But again, I often say that what's really underestimated a lot when it comes to miniatures is just simple animal miniatures, because there's something you don't think about too often, because you obviously want the more fantastical creatures, but simple miniatures like this horse, who is very much giving me Spirit Stallion of Cimarron vibes here from the horse design, are just fantastic. We also have, again, it was mentioned that the bandits drop a log. So I heard it as I said it, on either side of the bridge. And then we have 2 of the logs there. Now, what's interesting is for the merchants and the NPCs, we actually have flat pack rather acrylic miniatures. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way, or I'll just shove it to the back and show you this. So we're gonna go ahead and push one of these up, and it just kind of comes off of, I don't know if you can see that, comes off of the plastic base. There we go. And then we just go ahead and push out one of the, oops, that one came flying right at me. And then basically what will happen is this will just kind of slot right into that acrylic base. I can do this one-handed. Oh yeah, I got it. That was it. It just has a click. And again, these are double-sided. So here you can see the front of the bandit leader. And as you spin it around, it's him facing the other direction. We have that for all of our bandits as well as our merchant. So, in this pack, you are getting the terrain pieces, right? Your map pieces. 2 different map pieces, which different sides that are interchangeable. You've got your 4 acrylic bandit miniatures. You've got your merchant miniature, and then again, your 2 pack mules, your wagon, your horse, and the 2 wooden logs there. Now, let's go ahead and talk price. So, this is $30. That seems pretty reasonably priced to me. I think some of the benefit is going to be the fact that it's not tied to a Wizards of the Coast IP. So you're not paying for like additional like premiums, if you will, for like licensing. But this is a pretty solid thing for $30. It is 4 different small adventures with multiple plot hooks and a storyline. These map tiles are pretty nice, and again, interchangeable in however you want to use them. They also don't even necessarily need to be used for this. I think people often underestimate, if you're gonna do physical maps, how much this takes up almost no space. And things like these can go a long way, just having these in your, your bag or in a folder. And if you want to just go that extra step a little bit above just drawing greenery on a vinyl mat, versus not going full tilt on terrain, this is a very nice alternative. I particularly like these a lot. And then again, you do have to kind of step things up more into the 3rd dimension. the various different miniatures and things that you have there. And again, I've said this countless times before, they're not for everybody, but flat pack acrylic miniatures, this takes up almost no space, and you can get a ton of these. WizKids has a whole line of these that you can get, as well as other companies make them as well, to just add 3 dimensions to your game. And again, you take a whole stack of these, where it would take like multiple like tackle boxes to carry as many minis as this would take. So currently, this is a pretty solid showing here of this product for $30. That price, I think, is pretty good. You've got some decent miniatures. You've got a lot going for it. It feels right for me. And if you get a chance to find this on sale, perhaps, even better. But $30 feels like that's not exorbitant. You're not spending a ton of money. Let's roll into our Steam Forged Epic Encounters. Now, I have said it before, but we're going to go ahead and let it speak for itself and let you all make the judge. And maybe I'll even make a poll after this video comes out to see what... Oh, sorry, that was a lot louder than I thought it was going to be. What people think about which one is the true winner, which is the best bang for your buck. So, Epic Encounters here. This is Savannah of the Gnoll pack. Or Savannah of... Yeah, of the Gnoll pack. And it says in the back, red in tooth and claw, the Gnoll pack emerges from the savannah to bring savagery and destruction to your tabletop role-playing games. With 18 highly detailed miniatures, a double-sided battle map, and a fully statted encounter, you can be ready to play in minutes. Open the box and access a world of danger and adventure all ready to deploy in your games. Whether it's exquisitely sculpted enemies or a fully planned-out encounter, you can be ready to run in minutes. Now, something that is worth pointing out is that Epic Encounters are designed for 5e. So if you're running this, and again, whereas the encounter in a box, you would have to figure out the specifics to make it 5e, the Epic Encounter setup is designed with 5e in mind. Now, first off, open it up. It's a nice box. We have a high quality, almost I don't know what I would call this, but it's like a higher end. It's not even a cardstock. It's almost like, feels almost like plastic in a good way though. Like it might be dry or wet erase, but we have this map here. Double-sided map, right? So much larger than our tiles, and again, folds up nice and small. And then you get to the inside of the box where we have the adventure, which again is not a small adventure, and then all of our miniatures. Now, one thing that I really like about the Steamforged gamed Epic Encounter miniatures is they all theme them color-wise. So the kobolds that you see here, or sorry, the kobolds, the gnolls, they're all like tan color. So like the miniatures of a same kind of camp or faction are all of the same color. So like, again, if you're doing like kobolds, they're all red. So it's just a nice little thing to help you keep track of what you're using. But we do have a handful of unique sculpts here. So we have this one Gnoll here. This is a more... Let's see if we can't get that. There we go. One thing that I can never complain or fault our friends at Steamforged for is just the absolute level of clarity and detail. I mean, look at this. We have 4 of these kind of Gnoll, looks like maybe melee kind of warriors here, ones that are using more claw and fang. We have 4 of this type of Gnoll warrior here using what looks like to be either spears or javelins. Again, we can see the extra javelins in the back, and once again, just the level of detail on the sculpt, as well as having that javelin or spear up in front. We have 4 of those. We have 4 of these epic glaive-wielding gnolls here. Sorry, I wish this circular thing stayed more in the middle, but this is just absolutely beautiful. Love to see a polearm user in an enemy just because it's different. So 4 of those. We have 2 of these like vulture-like winged Gnoll creatures. Like, it almost looks skeletal in the face there. And they have these sort of ramshackle wings with this, like, staff and, like, sword there. And then it looks like we have kind of the leader of this particular set, which is this one larger than a normal Gnoll, but you can see he's actually eating what looks like a human hand, and he's ripping it in his teeth, which, again, the level of detail, the cleaver that he has, the various spears and things on his back. And then there are 3 of these, I don't even know if you could call these Gnolls, or like super hyenas, or like crazy hulking, like berserker looking Gnoll creatures with all of these spikes. And again, you get 3 of these guys, which just look absolutely terrifying. So you're gonna get, again, 4 of the ones that kind of look like they're using tooth and claw, 4 of the glaive wielders, 4 of the spear wielders, 2 of the winged creatures, 3 of this kind of more monstrous looking, maybe hyena or what have you, and then 1 of the big guy. So let's go ahead and talk. Where did I put the adventure? It is, I don't know if we have a page count, over 30 pages worth of content here. And what it's going to do is kind of walk you through the entirety of the adventure, right? It has a bunch of different adventure hooks at the start. And again, has a pretty nasty, gory, awesome tale to go along with it, which I love because I'm a huge fan of Gnolls. Talks about, again, what kind of enemies we're dealing with. So there are, let's see, Gnoll's presence is heralded by a presence of the Striga, strange creatures who bear a resemblance to owls. Okay, that must be the ones we were just talking about with the wings. 2 pair of Gnoll Reavers move between. This is, again, all the different enemies here. 3 Gnoll Seekers. We have options if you want to pull in reinforcements. And then we have, again, that one side of the map showing off various encounters based on the starting point of your adventure. And then that was the tall grass. Or the hollowed trees is 1. Tall grass oasis. Then we roll into the standing stone. Which is the second backside of the adventure there. Has different scaling options for the different tiers of play. Again, for both. Oh, that is a dire hyena, was that one thing. We have a stat block specifically for it with its abilities. And then again, modifications if you want to upscale it. We have the feral Gnoll. That was the initial creature that I showed. We have the Gnoll Reaver. Again, there are stat blocks, 5th edition stat blocks for all of these here. We have the Gnoll Fang. That's the big one that we saw at the end, pulling the meat off the bone there. The Gnoll Seeker. And the, Vulture Flock, I think. Or maybe that's something different. That looks like that is... Oh, and then Striga. Striga were those creatures. So there are rules for basically like a swarm of vultures. And what's really cool, and one of my absolute favorite things about the Epic Encounter series, is that this is basically... I'm putting them all back in their box. This is basically step 1, if you will. So you have this entire series, this entire encounter that I'm not entirely sure. I've never, one time I'd actually like to be able to sit down and play one of these because I don't know how long it takes to actually run through one of these epic encounters. It's called an encounter, so I imagine this should probably fit you in like a one-shot sort of territory. But one thing that I really love about epic encounters is that they always come in teams of 2. What we saw here, again, is the Savannah of the Gnoll Pack, which is essentially the boots-on-the-ground, lower-level monsters, which does have a big encounter at the end, but that is essentially a mini-boss. And then there is a follow-up boss adventure here called Rage of the Gnoll Warseeker, and this one is like you do the previous one, and then this is your ultimate final boss with a significantly larger miniature. And it says here on the back, a terrifying engine of destruction, the Gnoll Warseeker carries death in his clawed hands. Can any hope to halt his bloody rampage? Containing the enormous, beautifully detailed Gnoll Warseeker miniature on a 100mm base, this is the ultimate aid to running a thrilling boss encounter in your fantasy role-playing games. Complete with a double-sided battle map, an encounter booklet detailing exactly how to craft the most exciting encounter possible, and all the tokens you need, this box is everything required to make your boss battle epic. And again, as stated, like with the other epic encounter, this is written for 5th edition. So if you're going to be running 5e games, you don't have to do any kind of stat work on your end. So we'll go ahead and open this up. And again, we have some promo stuff. So we start off once again with a double-sided map. Again, notice how we're still kind of very much in like Savannah territory, as it can be the follow-up boss encounter to Savannah of the Gnoll Pack. We also have pop-out pawns here. We have some of these barrel tokens, and these are Gnoll Reaver tokens. Now, obviously, you can use these Reaver tokens if you want, or you can use, if you have Savannah of the Gnoll Pack, you can use the Reaver miniatures from inside there for this. Again, they have the opportunity to be run independently of one another. You can run just one or just the other. You don't have to run them in tandem. I like the concept of starting with this. You can lay the groundwork with the smaller kind of miniature, kind of mob-based one, and then roll into the big boy encounter here. So let's go ahead and open him up. I don't even think we're going to need the mini cam for this, because he's monstrous. I mean, look at that. That is a chunky boy, and he does have a tail that is keywayed that you can go ahead and slot in. But I mean, look at this boy. Look at this. I mean, he is just a beast. Look at that. We'll go ahead and put him on. I don't even know if I can zoom the camera out far enough. Oh, we can. We can get a good look at him. This is a really awesome looking mini. Look at this thing. Definitely a final boss, right? I mean, look at that. I don't even know what you call that. Axe? Cleaver? This thing is just a total monster. I mean, look, there's like a shield. These are like shields that normal medium-sized characters would wear, and he's got them as like adornments on his belt. So, an absolutely wildly epic miniature. Let's go ahead and take a look at the adventure. So, it'll be very similar in a lot of ways. One of the things I also have mentioned before, that they do put tactics in here, which is something I do think maybe we'll be delighted to find out that that's been changed in the 2024 Monster Manual. But it explains, like, when you get into combat with one of these creatures, this is how they typically act. Now, obviously, things may change based on hit points, way the encounter is going, and so on. But they give you kind of a tactical rundown. At first, they're probably going to do this, before then on the next turn they do whatever. Again, we have our how to use the different bits of terrain. So we roll into our final encounter. And again, this is the Gnoll Seeker attack type. And it kind of has turns as it would go through, right? It's driven by rage, by instinct, and by the slowly reappearing memories of a lost world. It's a terrifying opponent, and it seeks out every opportunity to tear its victim apart. It is driven by the most primal of instincts in everything it does. The following sequence indicates an initial attack flow for the creature to follow. For more details on these abilities, see Gnoll Warseeker ability, Lair ability, and cinematic movements on page 28, 29, and 30, respectively. So again, this is the turn order that the final boss is going to take in, allowing it to kind of show off all of the things that it can do. And then again, it describes all of what the abilities actually do in game terms. Then there's lair actions and lair related things, because you're fighting the final boss, likely in its lair. And then it has, again, how to do, I said cinematic movements, I meant cinematic moments. There are different cool things that it can do to really amp up the epicness of the encounter. And then again, we have in the back a Gnoll Warseeker Pack Cub stat block. and then the Warseeker pack member here. So, and then the leader, which is the big guy, all written out here with all of their special abilities and things. So, pretty awesome. And let's take a look at the pricing. Savannah of the Gnoll pack is $60. And a reminder, not only are you getting the map and the adventure, you are also getting 18 miniatures for $60, which I think is a pretty good deal. And for the Rage of the Gnoll Warseeker, that is $54. So a little bit less than Savannah of the Gnoll pack, $5 less. But the miniature is pretty substantial. And again, it comes with an adventure, it comes with a map, it comes with some pawns. So I think, and again, I think it really truly excels when you use it as a follow-up to the previous adventure. So I really, really like that. But that is our Gnoll pack here from Steam Forged Games. I'm going to go ahead and put that back in the box. And we will move on. Oops. Drop the encounter. To our final box in the set here. The D&D official branded Icons of the Realms Red Dragon Lair. Now this is the most expensive of the things here in this series. This will run you $100. Let's see what we have. Now, I can tell you, this is a substantially heavier box. It's also covered in hair because it was sitting on the floor. Oops. Don't cut your fingers there, Ted. This is not a small. God, it is so heavy. All right, so we actually do have a handful. Oh, you know what? Let's read the back like we did for the other ones. Brave one of Dungeons and Dragons' most dangerous dungeons with the Adventure in a Box Red Dragon's Lair. Inside, you will find 6 pre-painted miniatures, 8 lair dressings, and 4 different dragon lair chamber tiles to lay out the foundation of your perilous encounter. Whether you're looting the dragon's hoard or slaying the dragon itself, the Adventure in a Box Red Dragon's Lair is your place to start. So, one thing I will say, we are getting a significant amount of minis in here, which is kind of nice. So let's go ahead and bring in our mini cam, and then we'll take a look at the tiles. So, first up, we have, get this out of here. Here we go. We have treasure. What is a dragon without a hoard? We have this in frame. Some gold pieces and different pots and things. Okay. We have, I can get them out of here, a series of red kobolds in differing. Oh man, they're hard to get out of the box, let me tell you. Zoom ourselves out a little bit. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different traditional kobolds here in different styles, right? War picks. We see ones with hoods, shields, and so on. So I like that. We do have one Erd, which is the winged kobold here, wielding a dagger. We have a set of dragon eggs. I did not think red dragon eggs. Granted, this was also done in 2014 versions of the dragons as opposed to what we've now seen for 2024. We also have, if I can get them out of here, some terrain pieces. We have like stalactites and stalagmites to represent different like towers and things. Zoom that out a little bit. You can see they have a top, but you know, if you zoom it in like I just did, or you want them to be pillars, there's some various, man, it's hard to get out of here. Stalagmites, rather. So you can see how you can, again, incorporate these with the tiles as you see fit to build out various bits of a dragon lair or any cave terrain, really. So there is all of our terrain pieces, including all of the minions. And then last, certainly not least, is the creature of legend themselves, our red dragon. We go ahead and move some of these stalactites. Now this is listed as a young red dragon. Again, I think this sculpt on this red dragon is fantastic. This is also, I don't think, a design and like a pose and a sculpt that we've seen before for a red dragon in 5th edition. You can see it next to some smaller sized kobolds. I really like this design. I like that it's kind of like prowling. Like I said, I don't think we've seen this sculpt before in terms of WizKids pre-painted miniatures. So I definitely am a fan of what we see here for sure. All right, so that is all of the miniatures. Now there is the heaviest part, which is over here. These things are no joke. Let's go ahead and see what we've got over here. These are literal like tiles, like puzzle piece style tiles, made out of a very chunky cardboard, like cardstock. Oh, it tells you there, top right. All right, and you can see again, top middle, and they kind of are puzzle pieces, right? So they connect together like that. I imagine this is top right, or top left rather. Then again, if you were to continue along making these, you get the point, but we'll go ahead and keep going through them. We have center left, caldera center, center right, bottom right, bottom middle, bottom left. Okay, that was all in like pack 1, if you will. And then we have, oh, there's 2 more packs. There's this pack, and then another one. This is not a small map, mind you, either, based on the size of these tiles, from what you could tell. We have Kobold Den. This looks to be just a standalone tile. Pillared Hall. This is also the Pillared Hall. I guess they connect together like this. Get a look at that. And then we have the last kind of smaller pack here. Let's see what we got. Okay, we have Treasure Hoard Chamber. Treasure Hoard Chamber. I think this is all this is going to be. It's just pieces of the... This is just the 4 pieces are the Treasure Hoard Chamber. Yep. Goes there. You get the idea, but... Treasure Hoard Chamber, and then again, the bottom piece. So, it is not a small amount of tiles, and I think from the looks of it, they all could connect together. This is a pretty massive stack of maps, and this is not light. This is pretty heavy. So you could build a pretty sizable map with that. Now, as I said, that is $100. And while it does come with some pretty epic minis, including, again, that really awesome Red Dragon mini, which if we look at what Wizards of the Coast is charging for, I branded D&D official miniatures, I imagine you could probably be looking at probably $15 at least, maybe $20 for the Red Dragon alone. We got a pack of 5 kobolds, we'd probably call that $10, maybe another $15. A little bit of set dressing, I don't know. but then you just have tiles. You don't even have an adventure written to go with it, which I do think when you have a title of a product called Adventure in a Box, that it should include the adventure in the box. Again, I'm sure based on just looking at the map and obviously the little pieces of terrain you have and kobolds and treasure and the dragon, you can probably get a pretty quick idea of how you could whip something up, which is fine. It gives you the creative liberty to do that. But should you have to, this would be a great opportunity for some designer to work on a adventure for Wizards of the Coast, like a one-off adventure to include in the box. The only thing that I think probably needs to be considered, and I'm just thinking about it now as we're talking, is the price for this is already $100 without an adventure. If you're going to pay somebody to write an adventure to include in it, then that's probably going to be, add to the price and drive it up a little bit. Alternatively, you could release an adventure. In theory, you could release an adventure for free that people could download a PDF for it, meaning WizKids or Wizards. Or I guess in theory, they could go the other route where you do that, but you charge for it, $2, $5, whatever it is for an adventure or series of adventures for different tiers of play that utilize the Red Dragon lair that you've built. Because this is a pretty sizable lair for only a young dragon. So I can imagine you could easily swap out young with adult, but you need to obviously tier the play up for that for sure. But it also is, I think, a great opportunity for somebody to kind of freelance do this on their own and release a Red Dragon encounter adventure that they can either put out on, Patreon or sell and put out on the DMs Guild, whatever. And, state that it's a perfect fit to go along with this. You're not actually taking away from it. In fact, you're incentivizing people to pick this up. You just wrote an adventure for use with it, which again would be pretty cool. So when it comes down to it, though, where do we think bang for your buck wise? Again, you're getting a decent amount of miniatures and some cool things inside the adventure in a box, the Red Dragon lair. It is also fighting a red dragon, which is an iconic creature, an iconic moment, iconic area in Dungeons and Dragons in like a lava-filled region. So it definitely gets some points for style, but I don't think I can justify $100 for something that has, while it does have cool minis and cool maps, no adventure to go along with it. If we look at the WizKids Encounter in a Box Wagon Ambush, for $30, that does feel like the best budget option. Not only are you getting a little bit of a map, a little bit of terrain and pieces and miniatures, as well as some flat pack stuff, it is only $30. And don't forget the adventure that also gives you adventure hooks and also has the benefit of being system agnostic so that you can use it with any kind of adventure you want. $30 is definitely the best budget option, although I think probably the biggest downside to Encounter in a Box is I think there's only two. I think you have the Wagon Ambush, and I think you have Prison Break. Maybe there's another one. I'm not sure if there's more beyond this, which is probably the biggest upsetting part. Let's just search Encounter in a Box on WizKids website real quick and see what we get. Encounter in a Box. We get Wagon Ambush, Prison Break. That's it. Yeah, from the looks of it. There are multiple adventures in a box. We do have the Goblin Camp, which we covered in a video a while back. We have the Red Dragon Lair that we just covered, and then we talked about we did the Mind Flayer adventure not that long ago, and there's also the Were Rat Den. So I guess the biggest downside is just the lack of other encounters in a box. But maybe this is, again, just something where there's just not enough of an interest for it. So, again, I think without really much doubt here, Steam Forged Games Epic Encounters is going to come out on top. You're getting high-quality miniatures that are all in a color theme so that if you don't get a chance to paint them, at least they're all the same color and kind of work as a unit that way. Super high quality so that if you do want to paint them, they have a lot of detail there. You have a double-sided map. You have a pre-written, pre-statted, unique stat blocks, tactics, and other things, 5e adventure. So if you're going to run Dungeons & Dragons, the work's already done for you. It's $60 to get all of that. It comes nicely packaged. The box also looks just epic with the pink and stuff on the side. And it's kind of a part one of a part two of a two-part potential adventure if you go with Rage of whatever is Rage of the Gnoll Warband or Rage of the Gnoll Warseeker, where you get the follow-up encounter after the initial kind of mob encounter with the mini boss to take on the big guy at the end. And I think that that is a fantastic kind of back-to-back combo. And honestly, those two together comes out to about the same cost as the Red Dragon Adventure in a box. You're getting 19 miniatures, some pawns, 2 large double-sided maps, and 2 pre-written adventures that are also have the ability to scale and tier for different tiers of play. Whereas while you do have an epic size map in the Red Dragon lair with all of these tiles, these are bulky, right? They're heavy. You got to find a place to store them. Now, granted, they do take up a lot less space than 3D terrain, so that is a benefit to their purpose. But this is also, I mean, also, I guess, all of the maps have the opportunity to be used in multiple ways. But you only get so many miniatures. You get a lot more miniatures with epic encounters. And again, you're looking at a similar price range with a 2-tiered adventure. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Which one do you land on? Which one do you think is the best bang for your buck? Remember, we're looking at $60 for Steamforged Epic Encounters, only $30 for the WizKids Encounter in a box, and then $100 for the Icons of the Realms Adventure in a box. I would like to take some time at one point to sit down and run a series of Steamforged Games Epic Encounters to run both the lower level adventure and the higher level adventure just to see how things shake out, because I do think there's an opportunity there to just see how that plays, because I really don't have an opportunity or an idea of how to do that. Now, again, I do have a home game where I have an opportunity to try to test this out, so maybe we'll do that. But either way, I've rambled on long enough here. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. See you all next time.